This is a sports catastrophe production. Hey there, hello there. It's Jeff Carter W. Welcome you to another sports catastrophe on this day. And on this day, April26 in 1983, John Elway spurned the Baltimore Colts, who drafted him first overall in the 1983 draft. A couple of days ago, I talked about Eli Manning spurning San Diego, being the number one overall pick in 2004. But Elway's story was a lot differently. But this isn't just about Elway's story. This is about the 1983 NFL draft that had not one, not two, but 6 quarterbacks in the first round of varying degrees of success and all that. It was amazing and all that. How they had 6 quarterbacks drafted in the first round and all that. So, yeah, that's amazing. So the draft took place on April 26th and 27th of 1983. And no teams drafted anyone in the supplemental class. So basically, as we said, it was a quarterback class of 1983 because of 6 quarterbacks, which was amazing, all that. In order, they were John Elway, Todd Blackledge, Jim Kelly, Tony Eason, Ken O'Brien, and Dan Marino. Elway, Kelly, Eason, and Marino would play in the Super Bowl. Elway, Kelly, O'Brien, and Marino were in the Pro Bowl, and Elway, Kelly, Marino in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And weirdly enough, all 6 quarterbacks were drafted by AFC teams. Man, the NFC thought they were good with quarterbacks. With every member of the 5-team AFC East at the time, the Colts, Dolphins, Bills, Jets, and Pats selecting a quarterback. That was kind of weird, don't you think? In 11 of the 16 years following the draft, the AFC was represented by in the Super Bowl by at least one of these quarterbacks and all that. However, the quarterback class would be sucky because they would have a 2-9 Super Bowl career between them. Like, basically, Elway suffered a few key losses. Well, a few key losses himself. Tony Eason, of course, was a starting quarterback in Super Bowl 20 against the Bears, and Jim Kelly got rocked a couple times in the Super Bowl, being a starter and all that. But, of course, both wins in the Super Bowl were John Elway's doing and all that. So, anyway. So John Elway's story was huge, but we'll get to his story later. But anyway, Jim Kelly actually held out. He didn't want to go to Buffalo, which was strange. Jim Kelly from the University of Miami was a good quarterback, but he didn't want to play in Buffalo, I guess, because of the cold weather. So he basically decided to hold out and decided to sign with the Houston Gamblers of the USFL. And it was a great springtime circuit passer. The USFL, he was one of their best passers. Kelly was actually going to be part of the USFL's plan when they moved to a fall season, but because of his antitrust lawsuit sucking, Kelly decided to end his holdout and sign with Buffalo in 1986, and that was a great move. All that. So as we said, the second quarterback drafted was Todd Blackledge for the Kansas City Chiefs from the University of Penn State. Penn State was a good quarterback. Well, Todd Blackledge, who would have had a chance? I'll be honest with you. Who could have had Jim Kelly? Philadelphia could have had Jim Kelly. They were the first team to really have a big miss in the 83 draft. Yes, Denver had drafted Chris Hinton as a guard, and he was part of that trade from Denver to Baltimore to get John Elway. But honestly, Elway went first. Eric Dickerson went second. Kurt with a C, went to Seattle, and he was a good quarterback. Billy Ray Smith for Arkansas, linebacker from the University of Arkansas, a little bit biased because, Arkansas. The Bears took Jimbo Covert, a good offensive tackle, one of the best offensive tackles. Philadelphia took Michael Haddix. The Giants took Terry Kennard, a safety from Clemson, 10. They could have used a quarterback. Let's see. Philly's quarterback, well, they didn't want to Jaws. Green Bay could have had a good quarterback, but they didn't want to hurt Lynn Dickey's mind. Buffalo drafted someone before Jim Kelly, Tony Hunter, tight end for Notre Dame. Detroit could have had a good quarterback. And believe me, Detroit's quarterback issues were famous after Bobby Lane left and before Matt Stafford came in. So anyway, yeah. So Jim Kelly was the third quarterback taken. Black Luch was a decent quarterback. I don't remember much in the NFL. But anyway, Jim Kelly was good for Buffalo. And then New England, the next pick, took Tony Eason from the University of Illinois. Eason was decent. Oh, that Steve Grogan was getting up there in age, so Eason was supposed to ease, pun intended, Grogan's stuff. Let's see. Ken O'Brien was picked 24th by the Jets. Jets fans always boo their picks, and they booed Ken O'Brien rigorously. However, O'Brien did pretty well for himself with the Jets, even though they didn't have the pedigree to make the Super Bowl. Teams that could have had Ken O'Brien, I mean, Atlanta could have had, well, I think they still have Barkowski in '83. The St. Louis Cardinals, well, they didn't want anyone to replace Lomax. The Bears, well, they had Jim McMahon still. Minnesota could have had a good quarterback. I mean, Tommy Kramer wasn't that good. San Diego Chargers still had Feltz. Pittsburgh had a quarterback chance. Well, Terry Bradshaw was getting up there in years. Chargers picked again. Dallas could have made a move to replace Danny White. And then the Jets took Ken O'Brien. One of the biggest question marks is why Dan Marino fell to 27th in the draft. I mean, honestly, one of the biggest subplots was Marino's fall in the draft because rumors were spread that Marino's bad play during the senior season was because of drug use, even though Marino gets tested repeatedly during the season, testing clean every time. Teams like the Jets, Raiders, and Steelers pass up on Marino, making him fall to the Miami Dolphins. There were rumors circulating that it might have been a plot by the University of Pittsburgh people not to allow him to play for Pittsburgh, the Pittsburgh Steelers and all of that. Some kind of move. But in the end, it just was weird. So anyway. So John Elway was picked first by the Baltimore Colts. Baltimore was falling on hard times. Since Burt Jones left the Colts, basically they sucked. They really had it. The franchise just had too many playoff crushing losses. One year they got crushed by Pittsburgh in the divisional round. Worst of all was that there was a Cessna plane driven by a lunatic, flown by a lunatic, if you will, and basically crashed into the upper deck of Baltimore's Memorial Stadium during the post-game stuff. Thankfully, though, no fans were in the upper deck and all that. It was like crazy and all that. And then the next season goes to the post-game in which Oakland shocked the Colts in double overtime thanks to Dave Casper, a.k.a. the Ghost. So Baltimore really slipped. The '82 season, we all know, had that strike. However, the Colts didn't even win one game in that season, even though it was a 9-game season. They lost 8 and tied 1. How do you tie a game? Jeez. Baltimore pinned things on Art Schlichter. Unfortunately, Schlichter got injured, and his other pastime of gambling ruined his career. Basically, he would spend more time trying to deal with his gambling than his football play. And basically, Schlichter was basically kicked out of the league for gambling too much. So Baltimore needed to move on from Schlichter. And they decided to go with John Elway because he's this great quarterback from Stanford. And we all know his last collegiate game was a bust because of, the play by Cal with those laterals against Stanford. Stanford had a chance to go to a bowl game if they won. Cal had nothing to play for, but nothing to lose. I mean, they were still playing for the Stanford Axe, which was basically the award for the big game between Stanford and Cal, whoever won that game. Yeah, I think Cal got lucky. The Stanford band was on the field. I think that was partially why the play was allowed to stand. But anyway, yeah. But John Elway was great. However, Elway was a budding baseball superstar and could have played in the Yankees organization. The Yankees had his baseball rights. And John Elway thought that Baltimore was not really a good place to play. So basically he said, you know what, I'll use my baseball rights, my baseball stuff to leverage that I don't want to go to Baltimore because, I'm going to want to play baseball. Rather play baseball than playing quarterback for the Baltimore Colts. And everyone agreed. However, everyone overlooks the fact that there was another factor why he didn't want to play for Baltimore. Because the Baltimore Colts needed a new coach, and they took up Frank Kush. Unfortunately, Frank Kush was a very polarizing figure at Arizona State University. I know the football field's named for him, but basically, Kush was basically known for his illegal practices and all that. In 1979, he got turfed by the Sun Devils, even though Arizona State was a decent decent team. So Frank Kush would by this time he coached a year in Hamilton with the Tiger Cats, but basically he got the lure of the NFL. So Frank Kush basically decided to be the Baltimore Colts head coach. But John Elway did not like it. Not only because Frank Kush was a coach for the Arizona State Sun Devils, which would be opponent to Stanford in the Pac-10, but because Frank Kush was known for his disciplinary problems. And the fact of the matter is that John Elway's father, Jack, was the head coach for Stanford. So Jack was coaching John on the Stanford Cardinals team, and they both knew who Frank Kush really was. So yeah, but Kush didn't help with the Baltimore Colts, but it was a happy ending for him because Arizona State forgave him in 1996, named the field after him, and Arizona State beat the two-time national defending champion Nebraska Cornhuskers, 19-0. But anyway, yeah, it was weird and all of that. There were different attempts to get rid of Elway to other teams. ESPN did a 30 for 30 about the 1983 draft, and basically, they actually explored a draft day trade with the Pats involving John Hanna. So John Elway could have played for the New England Patriots. Wow. And the Pats almost gave up John Hanna, one of the best offensive linemen, the best offensive lineman in Pats history. There was a trade offer for the Raiders and the Bears. I mean, the Raiders probably wanted a new quarterback. I mean, Jim Plunkett wasn't getting any better, and Ken Stabler. Well, Stabler retired, I think. But anyway, yeah, the Raiders. What about it? There was also a chance for a trade, Elway to San Francisco for Joe Montana. Really? The Colts almost traded Elway to Dallas, but the Colts owner Robert Irsay intervened. So basically, the Colts traded Elway to Denver for Chris Hinton and a few other players. That trade would actually help Denver out. Denver wasn't that bad. I mean, Craig Morton was a decent quarterback, but basically, after him, Denver was just free falling. And so basically, Elway helped Denver out. They got to 3 Super Bowls in the 1980s. I know that technically one of them was in 1990, but a lot of people said, well, it was the 89 season. I know I myself say, oh, it was 1990, but anyway, yeah. So yeah, so it worked out for Denver. The Baltimore Colts, it didn't work out. Basically, they would be forced to shuttle off to Indianapolis because Robert Irsay was just being a giant cock. And that's the truth. So anyway, yeah, great quarterbacking coach. All that. Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond. I do.